"My dog lives better than your children ever will." The courtroom audience laughed in the viral clip. But within days, those few cruel words would ignite one of the most explosive public humiliations ever witnessed inside Judge Judy's courtroom. This wasn't an ordinary workplace dispute. It became a national spectacle involving privilege, corruption, humiliation, and a daughter who believed her wealthy family name made her untouchable. 24-year-old Madison Hartwell, the pampered daughter of controversial Mayor Richard Hartwell, never imagined the world would turn against her. She assumed her father's influence could bury any scandal, silence any victim, and erase any consequences. That confidence shattered the moment a hidden phone recording exposed the way she treated a hard-working employee in front of a room full of wealthy friends. The footage spread across the internet like wildfire. Millions watched in outrage as Madison mocked a struggling mother and compared the woman's children to her designer dog. The clip became one of the most replayed courtroom-related scandals in years. But what nobody realized at first was that Mayor Hartwell himself was sitting quietly in the back of the courtroom, listening to every word his daughter said. And before the hearing ended, he would make a decision that stunned the nation, destroyed Madison's sense of entitlement, and changed both of their lives forever. The lawsuit had been filed by Rosa Martinez, a 38-year-old single mother raising 3 children on her own. Rosa had immigrated to America 15 years earlier with almost nothing. She worked endlessly to support her family, balancing multiple jobs, while trying to create a better future for her kids, who consistently excelled in school despite their financial hardships. When Rosa accepted a live-in nanny position with the Hartwell family, she believed her situation was finally improving. The salary was decent, and the guest house accommodation offered stability she desperately needed. For 2 years, Rosa worked tirelessly caring for Madison's children and helping manage the enormous household. But during those 2 years, she also endured constant disrespect. Madison treated employees like invisible servants. She spoke down to staff members, mocked people behind their backs, and carried herself as though wealth made her superior to everyone around her. Still, Rosa tolerated it because her children depended on her income. Everything changed one Sunday morning in April. Madison hosted an extravagant brunch at the Hartwell estate. For a group of wealthy socialites, champagne flowed endlessly while the guests laughed, gossiped, and posted glamorous photos online. Rosa moved throughout the mansion handling childcare duties and keeping everything organized. At one point, one of Madison's friends complained that the help shouldn't be visible during brunch. She suggested Rosa should use side entrances instead of walking through the main parts of the house. Madison laughed and publicly agreed. In front of everyone, she instructed Rosa to stay hidden in the kitchen with the other servants. Rosa swallowed the humiliation and continued working. An hour later, she entered the dining area carrying one of Madison's children and politely asked about lunch arrangements for the kids. That was when Madison decided to entertain her guests. Smirking while several friends recorded videos on their phones, Madison looked directly at Rosa and delivered the insult that would destroy her reputation forever. "My dog eats better than your kids. That's probably why you're desperate enough to work here. Even Prada has standards." Prada was Madison's French bulldog, a pampered pet with expensive outfits and a social media account dedicated entirely to luxury dog accessories. The women at the table burst into laughter. Some covered their mouths while giggling into their drinks. Others stared in disbelief. One friend muttered, "Madison, that's horrible," while still laughing at the spectacle. The camera captured Rosa's face in painful clarity. Shock, humiliation, hurt. A mother being mocked for her poverty while standing in the home where she worked tirelessly every day. And Madison didn't stop there. She casually instructed Rosa to feed the kids whatever and keep them quiet because important people were present. Rosa said nothing. She simply turned around, carried the child back to the kitchen, and continued doing her job. That night, after the children were asleep, Rosa approached Madison privately. Calmly and respectfully, she explained that the comments about her children had been cruel and degrading. She asked only for basic dignity and respect while working in the household. Madison's response was immediate. "You're fired. No warning. No severance. No final paycheck." Madison ordered Rosa out of the guest house by morning. When Rosa asked about the wages still owed to her, Madison laughed and told her to consider the unpaid money a lesson about knowing her place. Rosa packed her belongings into garbage bags and left the estate that same night. But unlike previous employees who had quietly accepted hush money and signed confidentiality agreements, Rosa refused to stay silent. She contacted an attorney and filed suit seeking compensation for unpaid wages, emotional distress, and wrongful termination. The Hartwell family moved quickly. Within days, representatives from the mayor's office offered Rosa money in exchange for silence. The deal required her to disappear quietly and never discuss the incident publicly. Rosa refused. She didn't want payoff money. She wanted accountability. That refusal triggered intimidation attempts from powerful people connected to the Hartwell family. Rosa's attorney was warned that opposing the mayor could ruin Rosa's future employment opportunities throughout the city. Still, Rosa refused to back down. Then the video leaked online. One of Madison's own brunch guests uploaded the footage with a caption exposing the cruelty of wealthy elites toward working people. The internet exploded. Millions viewed the clip within days. Public outrage intensified by the hour. Protesters gathered outside city buildings demanding consequences for the Hartwell family. And suddenly, Mayor Richard Hartwell faced a crisis unlike anything his political power had ever handled before. For decades, Hartwell had operated like an untouchable figure in city politics. Allegations of corruption followed him constantly. Investigations into fraud and abuse of power surrounded his administration. But this scandal was different. This wasn't hidden paperwork or political corruption buried in legal language. This was personal. The public saw a rich young woman openly humiliating a hard-working mother. They saw entitlement without shame, cruelty without remorse, and they blamed the father who raised her. Madison Hartwell had spent her entire life protected from consequences. She never held a real job. Her father funded every aspect of her lifestyle. Luxury cars, designer clothes, lavish vacations, all provided without effort or responsibility. Previous scandals had disappeared through money and influence. Legal troubles vanished. Complaints were buried. Victims stayed silent after settlements. Madison learned early that her family name shielded her from accountability. But Rosa Martinez refused to play by those rules. That's how the case landed in Judge Judy's courtroom. The hearing attracted massive public attention. Reporters packed the courtroom alongside activists, curious citizens, and supporters of Rosa. Rosa arrived quietly and professionally dressed, carrying organized evidence documenting her employment and unpaid wages. Madison arrived late. She entered while talking on her phone, dressed head to toe in designer fashion, radiating irritation rather than concern. Her expensive jewelry sparkled beneath the courtroom lights, while she acted as though the entire proceeding inconvenienced her. Judge Judy noticed immediately. Years on the bench had taught her how to recognize arrogance. The moment it entered a courtroom, Madison ignored courtroom instructions, rolled her eyes repeatedly, and treated the proceedings like a nuisance, rather than a legal matter involving another human being's dignity. Judge Judy began directly. "Miss Hartwell, do you believe you owe Ms. Martinez compensation?" Madison barely hid her annoyance. "Honestly, this whole thing is ridiculous. She was basically babysitting. We paid her well. She should have appreciated the opportunity." Judge Judy's eyes narrowed. According to this contract, Ms. Martinez worked 60-hour weeks. Madison shrugged casually. "She lived in our guest house for free. That counts for something." Judge Judy moved forward carefully. "Did you terminate her employment?" "Yes," Madison answered immediately. She created drama and became difficult to work with. Then Rosa spoke, calmly, respectfully, and clearly. She described the years of work, the humiliating brunch incident, and the way she had been fired after requesting basic respect. Judge Judy asked the obvious question. What exactly did she say about your children? Before Rosa could answer, Madison interrupted. Oh my God, are we seriously still talking about that joke? Judge Judy cut her off sharply. Do not interrupt again. Rosa quietly repeated the words that had gone viral. She said her dog eats better than my children ever will. Gasps spread through the courtroom. Judge Judy turned slowly toward Madison. Did you say that? Madison sighed dramatically. It was sarcasm, rich people humor. Everyone there understood it except her. Judge Judy removed her glasses slowly. Explain to me what part of mocking a mother's poverty is funny. Madison appeared genuinely confused by the question. It wasn't about poverty. That's just how people in our circles joke around. Your circles? Judge Judy replied coldly. What exactly have you accomplished besides spending your father's money? The courtroom reacted immediately. Madison's confidence cracked slightly, but years of entitlement pushed her forward. My family built this city. We employ people. She should have been grateful to work for us. Judge Judy stared at her in disbelief. Grateful that you humiliated her? Madison rolled her eyes again. Honestly, Your Honor, do you even know who my father is? The courtroom became silent instantly. Judge Judy's expression hardened. I don't care if your father runs the entire country. In this courtroom, your last name means nothing. Madison tried another defense. She signed an NDA. She wasn't allowed to discuss what happened. Rosa's attorney calmly explained that the agreement became invalid once Madison withheld wages and violated the employment terms herself. Madison panicked and shifted blame again. She ruined our reputation online. Judge Judy leaned back and studied her carefully. You fired her, refused to pay her, insulted her children, and now you're surprised she sought accountability? Madison's arrogance resurfaced once more. She should be thanking me. Working for us was the best opportunity she'll ever have. The sheer lack of empathy stunned the courtroom. Then everything changed. A man stood up in the back row. Judge Judy noticed immediately. Sir, do you wish to say something? The man stepped forward slowly. I'm Richard Hartwell, Madison's father. Madison spun around in panic. Dad? What are you doing here? Mayor Hartwell approached the front of the courtroom with visible shame written across his face. He addressed Judge Judy first. Your Honor, what you're witnessing today is the result of my failures as a parent. Madison stared in horror. You promised you'd handle this. I am handling it, he replied firmly. Then, in front of everyone, Mayor Hartwell admitted years of corruption, enabling behavior, and covering up scandals involving his daughter. He confessed that he had spent years protecting Madison from consequences and teaching her that money could erase wrongdoing. But watching the viral video changed him. Seeing his daughter publicly humiliate a hard-working mother forced him to confront the truth about what she had become. Madison began crying uncontrollably. Please, Dad, don't do this. But Mayor Hartwell continued. Ms. Martinez is the 7th employee my daughter has mistreated. The others accepted money to stay silent. Rosa was the first brave enough to demand accountability. Judge Judy acknowledged his honesty, but reminded him the case was about justice for Rosa. Hartwell agreed completely. I'm not asking for mercy for my daughter. I'm asking you to hold her accountable. Judge Judy then delivered her ruling, judgment for the plaintiff. She awarded Rosa compensation for unpaid wages and emotional damages. Madison immediately objected. That's insane. It was only words. Judge Judy's response hit like a hammer. Words matter. Words humiliate. Words wound people deeply. Then she imposed an additional condition. Madison would publicly apologize in a video posted permanently online, explaining her actions and acknowledging the harm she caused. Madison exploded. You're trying to humiliate me. Judge Judy answered instantly. You humiliated Ms. Martinez in front of strangers and millions online. This is accountability. Then Mayor Hartwell delivered the final blow. Madison, you're cut off. The courtroom froze again. No more allowance, no more mansion, no more family money, he continued. You're going to work for a living. Madison completely broke down. I don't know how to live without money. Her father knelt beside her chair. I love you enough to stop destroying you. He explained that years of protection had created someone cruel and disconnected from reality. For the first time in her life, Madison would have to experience struggle, responsibility, and consequences. Then he turned to Rosa and apologized sincerely for enabling behavior that treated working people as disposable. Rosa responded with extraordinary grace. I never wanted revenge. I only wanted respect. Those words silenced the entire courtroom. Judge Judy closed the case with one final statement. Your wealth doesn't define you. Your last name doesn't define you. Character defines you. Her gavel struck the bench. Court adjourned. The footage from that courtroom spread worldwide. Millions watched Mayor Hartwell publicly abandon years of corruption and finally hold his daughter accountable. Millions more praised Rosa Martinez for refusing to be silenced. Months later, Madison's life looked completely different. She worked an ordinary hourly job. She lived in a small apartment. She took buses to work and learned how difficult life truly was. Without wealth protecting her from reality, the adjustment was painful. But slowly, she began understanding the lesson she should have learned years earlier, that dignity isn't purchased through privilege, and respect cannot be inherited. Meanwhile, Rosa used her settlement money to launch her own cleaning business. She hired single mothers, paid fair wages, and treated every employee with compassion and respect. Her children watched their mothers stand against power and win. And millions watching around the world learned the same lesson Judge Judy delivered so perfectly that day. In the end, money means nothing if you treat people without humanity.